This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
And welcome in, folks, to another edition of Open Mic Night. I am your host, Notes Lukey, and on today's episode, the Pistons making a huge trade with Jerami Grant to the Portland Trail Blazers. I'm going to break it down for you, and the draft is this week. We don't talk about Pistons too often, but I do want to break that down about the draft and maybe who the Pistons should take if they want to have any sort of future success in the Motor City. And I want to sprinkle a little bit of Riley Greene action into the mix today. Of course, Riley Greene pulled up from the minors after struggling with a little bit of injuries before during the season, and he's back, and he's with the Tigers now for his major league debut. And I want to talk about what this means for the Tigers offense moving forward, and maybe a little bit of AJ Hinch news as well that I want to talk about. But hopefully everybody had a great weekend out there. I definitely would have recorded this a little bit earlier, either on Tuesday or earlier today on a Wednesday that we're recording. But I'm recording a little late here on a Wednesday. Part of it is I wanted to try to see what would shake out with the Pistons. And so that's why we're recording a little bit late. And sure enough, something happens with Jerami Grant. We will get to that in a moment. But first, I want to start off, as I've been doing the last couple weeks, giving you a little update on what I've been doing at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So in case you're just joining us for your first edition of the podcast, a couple weeks ago I announced that I am an intern, archives intern at the Pro Football Hall of Fame this summer in Canton, Ohio, and it's been an absolute blast. Not a single day has gone by where I've hated it. Not a single day goes by where I'm bored. I learn something new every day. And it is so incredible to be at a place where former President David Baker called the greatest place on earth. And I've been having an absolute blast, learning so much NFL history. It's been a little bit quiet. So last week, of course, the Cleveland Browns came. They practiced at the stadium, and then we were able to give them some tours of the museum after, which was really fun. But since then, it's been a little quiet. At the Hall of Fame. But for me, I've done a lot of research on, kind of right now, the last couple weeks, been doing research on guys from this year's class. So what research entails is reading a lot of online articles about these guys. And so there's 8 members. There's Leroy Butler, Bryant Young, Sam Mills, Tony Baselli, Art McNally, Dick Vermeil, Cliff Branch, and the last name escapes me. I don't know why. Got to think about this. This is going to bother me if I don't get this. Richard Seymour, yes, the former Patriot and Raider. So I've been reading a lot of online articles about them, and then actually, so each player and coach and contributor has a file. We have a file of them in the Hall of Fame, so in the archives, and in the file, it basically has all these different press clippings of when they played, coached, all that. And so sometimes there's over 100 in these files. It has to do with anything from feature stories that were written about these guys to, little injury reports like that are a paragraph long in some newspapers, stuff like that, stuff that happens during the season. So it's really cool to read through, and really you get a good sense when you read all of these articles, a good sense of who these guys were. Like right now, I've completed research on Bryant Young and Leroy Butler. Leroy Butler, of course, the former Packer. Bryant Young, former 49er. Right now, I'm working on Tony Baselli. He was a guy that was in a lot of top 10 lists as guys to not make the Hall of Fame for a long time, but now he is in. Only played 7 seasons. But it's cool because a lot of these feature stories were written before there was the internet. So the only way to get them was through press clippings, ordering magazines, newspapers, whatnot. But basically all of that is compiled into one file. So it's been really cool to read old feature stories from the 90s about Tony Baselli and reading more about his abrupt retirement from the National Football League and some of the battles that he had with like Michael McCrary and some of his in the feature stories. I've learned a lot about his early life. I think something cool is that he worked at a monastery in Colorado for 2 summers while he was at USC. He was baling hay, taking care of animals. I mean, that's stuff that you could never find on a Google search, So being able to find those and, getting to learn a lot more about these guys, I just feel like it's, I just feel like I have a more of a connection with them now since I've researched a lot about them. And, this is just a dream come true. I mean, I've always been a supporter of the Hall of Fame, and I've really followed a lot of what they do in the selection process and all that, for a long time, for probably a decade now. And being able to read up on guys that have taken a while to get in, and over the years, but not really knowing their complete story, getting to know more of their story now since all this research is taking place that I'm doing has been absolutely incredible, and it's been such a joy and a privilege to be able to do this, as everything's leading up to enshrinement, which is the first week of August, the Hall of Fame game, Jags versus Raiders. And then the enshrinement ceremony 2 days later on, I believe, August 6th or 5th or 6th, whatever that first Saturday in August is. So really looking forward to that. The USFL championships are this weekend at the Hall of Fame. So the semifinals, at least, the championships are next week. The USFL story is a whole nother thing. Not really a fan of the league. I don't think it's going to last, but still, it's at the Hall of Fame, and it's cool. Actually, last week there was a concert as well for Father's Day. Jordan Davis, the country singer, and Christian and Ed McCaffrey were there. Of course, Christian McCaffrey, the All-Pro running back for the Carolina Panthers, when healthy, and then Ed, his father, a legend in his own right, longtime wide receiver for John Elway's Broncos in the 1990s. So it was cool to see them. Got a picture with them and got to meet them a little bit. So that was fun. A nice little event at the Hall of Fame Stadium, and doing a good job of really promoting the community over there as well. So, every week I record the podcast. I'm going to make sure I incorporate a little bit of what I'm doing at the Hall of Fame, just because it's just so cool, and it's the greatest place on earth, and just so much football immortality is there, and it's really incredible when you step in there every day. And I definitely don't want to take it for granted. I'm only there till August 10th, but I definitely don't want to take it for granted that I'm here, because I know there's a lot of people that would like to be in our places as interns, but just really, really humbled and blessed and grateful for this wonderful opportunity in Canton, Northeast Ohio. That is for sure. All right, on to some Pistons news. We don't talk about Pistons on this show much because I think they're a boring team, and I'm just not a Pistons fan. I think there's literally 12 fans that exist out there. They're definitely at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to popularity of Detroit sports. But nonetheless, the draft is now. And, I've said it before on the podcast. I think Troy Weaver so far has done a good job. I'm not saying a great job. I think he's done a good job. It's been better than Stan Van Gundy and Joe Dumars and how he wrecked this plane, 6-7 years ago or whatever it was. At least they have a little bit more stability at GM. They have a little bit more stability at head coach. And they have a young franchise player that's protected that they can build around in Cade Cunningham. Now, last year, the lottery gods were very nice to the Pistons, able to get the number 1 overall pick. Cade Cunningham really probably should have won Rookie of the Year, but, he ended up getting 3rd, I believe. By the way, Mo Sider, the Wings, can't remember what position he is, but he actually got Rookie of the Year in the NHL. And everyone's crying over Cade Cunningham not getting it, but Mo Sider in the NHL's getting it. So at least one Detroit team has a Rookie of the Year, I guess. But anyways, so Jerami Grant, who was probably the best player on the Pistons, if not for Cade, a guy that Troy Weaver had acquired a couple years ago. He had averaged over 20 points a game, but it was clear that in order for the Pistons to move forward, he was not going to be a part of this future, just because he cost a lot of money. He was 28, so he was nearing 30, and I think Troy Weaver's plan for the Pistons is to build around this young nucleus, build around Cade Cunningham, build around Sadiq Bey, all these other guys, these young guys that they have, and getting them, time and experience. So Jerami Grant had to go, basically. And so today, here on a Wednesday, Troy Weaver pulled off a trade where he's sending Jerami Grant to the Portland Trail Blazers in exchange for a 2025 first-round pick. When I first read this, I thought to myself, they're trading this year's pick? Like, I misread the date. I thought it was 2022. So I'm thinking, why the heck would Troy Weaver trade down to number 7 where the Trailblazers are? For Jerami Grant, you want to try to move up in this draft. You have the number 5 pick. You need a really nice number 2 for Cade Cunningham this year. Why move down? But then I said, oh, it's 2025. I find it interesting, though, that Troy Weaver was able to get a 2025 first-round pick. Not like next year's draft, not this year, but 2025. That's a long year down. That's a long ways down the road. I wonder if Troy Weaver thinks this might take some time. You know, maybe that's why he wasn't able to get a pick right away, you know, for this year or next year. That's really far in the future when it comes to trading draft picks. 2025, that you don't see teams trading draft picks, you know, 3 years in advance like that. That's very, very interesting. So basically, you know, he needed to go for cap reasons. Back in 2020, Grant signed a 3-year, $60 million deal. You know, so that was taking up some cap space. But now, since he's gone, that is going to free up Pistons have about $43 million of cap space. Now, a lot of people, oh, and by the way, it's not only just the first rounder from 2025 that the Trailblazers are sending. The Pistons are also swapping second round picks with the Blazers. Pistons getting 36th overall. Portland's getting 46th. And the Blazers are sending the Pistons a second-round pick in 2025. So a couple of second-round picks. Personally, I don't think there's many NBA players that really make it from the second round. It's not like the NFL where most of your squad is comprised of those guys in the fourth, fifth, sixth, like the lower rounds. The NBA is not like that. You need to get guys in the first round. You need to get talent there. There's not a whole lot of guys that, and I'm not saying that nobody succeeds in the second round, but I just don't think that that's where the Pistons should be loading up on draft picks, you know, finding guys in the second round. I don't think that's going to help much, but regardless, you could take a flyer on someone and you never know. You just never know. But moving up 10 spots in the second round, I don't mind that. You know, I think Troy Weaver did a good job, at least with this. At least he got Jerami Grant off the books. Pistons don't have to worry about his contract anymore. It frees up the cap space. But the question is, what is their plan now? We talk about building a young nucleus, right? Around Cade Cunningham, around Sadiq Bey, around those guys. There's rumors now that the Pistons have interest in Suns center DeAndre Ayton. He's entering restricted free agency. They're also rumored with interest in Miles Bridges, of course, the former Michigan State Spartan, same recruiting class as my guy Cassius Winston. Also, Colin Sexton from the Cavs. This is interesting. So we all know Andre Drummond, the longtime center for the Pistons, shipped out a couple years ago. And, all really Andre could do is rebound. Great old school center like that, but now the game has changed so much where you need to get out of that restricted area. All he could do is rebound and score on putbacks. Couldn't shoot threes, couldn't do anything, couldn't stretch the floor. DeAndre Ayton allows the Pistons, now he's a great rebounder, all that, but he allows the Pistons to stretch the floor more. So if they go after a guy like this, I don't mind. I think it's only going to help. It's not going to decrease their chances of winning. Miles Bridges, when I saw that name, I was a little curious about that because for the longest period of time, Miles Bridges did not do much in the league. He was great in the dunk contest, but what did he do on the floor for the Hornets? Not much. But, he made his first All-Star team next year. Seems like he's gelling a little bit more in the NBA. We'll see. Maybe he's another young guy that the Pistons are saying, hey, you just made your All-Star team. Be a nice compliment to Cade, nice compliment to whoever our draft pick is this year. That'd be nice. Colin Sexton, that's interesting too. If they want to play him at point guard, shooting guard, if they go after him, I wonder what that means for Cade. But I think Troy Weaver's plan is, okay, we're going to get these guys off the books. We have the most cap space in the NBA right now. Let's go out and get some free agents. Now, before, I know what you guys are thinking. Who the heck's going to come to Detroit? People want to go to LA. People want to go to New York. People want to do that. People want to go to Miami. Nice weather. Guys, I just think, I know Detroit isn't the hottest free agent destination, which is why I think, these are good players. These aren't like the hottest names in free agency, but do they have to be the hottest names in free agency to build a winning team? Not necessarily. I know the NBA is such a superstar-driven league and all that, but these are guys that could be nice pieces to add. You already have your superstar in Cade. So I think it's interesting to see what they're going to do, especially after getting rid of Jerami Grant. to the Trailblazers. And by the way, that 2025 first-round pick is top 4 protected. So pretty much guaranteed a top 4 spot in 2025. So it doesn't matter where the Pistons end up or the Trailblazers end up. It's top 4 protected. So Troy Weaver building for the future. And you never know what's going to happen in the next 2 years, 2023, 24, if he's going to ship any more players out, if they're going to get any more draft capital in this. That's really, really interesting. And I know that the Trailblazers, they missed the playoffs for the first time this year since 2013. Didn't help that Damian Lillard was hurt pretty much all season. He only played in 29 games. Maybe they're looking for a guy that can complement Lillard once he's back healthy, making a little bit more of a run. So it's a good fit, I think, for the Trailblazers. But, for the Pistons, it's okay. He was never going to be part of the long-term rebuild process anyways. Get him off the books. Get these young guys in. Get them on maybe a little bit cheaper deals. Being able to use all of this nice, nice cash or nice room in the salary cap. They're able to get these guys. So it's I'm actually really, really curious to see what the Pistons will do, and especially what's going to happen in this draft on Thursday. Now, I'm going to be the first to admit, I will not be watching the draft. We'll probably do a little bit of analysis next week about who's the guy that Pistons will take and all that. But, I'm not doing a whole draft, a whole show on it. It's not like what we did with Nate Leopold. By the way, Nate just got a job with the Houston Texans as a personnel assistant. So congratulations to Nate. We had him on a couple weeks ago or for the draft. Big congratulations to him. But according to CBS Sports, of course, there are 3 guys that, at least 3 of them, who do NBA mock drafts, all predict that the Pistons at number 5 will take Keegan Murray, forward from Iowa. Look, I'm not going to call myself an expert on the NBA draft, but I remember watching this guy at Iowa with Luka Garza and company. This guy was a beast. He was a beast. Averaging 23.5 points a game last season, shooting 55% from the field, 8 rebounds, 8.7 to be exact. This guy, 6'8", he's listed as 6'8", 225. This guy could be like, a guy that could take the place of Jerami Grant. And a guy that could stretch the floor, get some rebounds. I like Keegan Murray from Iowa. Really well coached at Iowa. Under Frank, his last name escapes me, the coach there. The guy I wanted to stay away from Chet Holmgren. I can sense bust all over him with Gonzaga. So, OKC and Orlando, they can take him. The guy I really was intrigued by was Paolo Banchero from Duke. I thought he was a guy that could really, be a big guy and stretch the floor for the Pistons as well. Jaden Ivey is another name. He's a shooting guard from Purdue. He averaged 17.3 points a game last year, 46 from the field, about 5 rebounds a game, 3 assists. I wonder. And you never know with some of these guys. Like who's a smoke screen? The Kings are sitting at 4. And I know Mike Valeni was really adamant about the Pistons trying to trade up within reason as much as they can to try to get some of these guys. But I think if they sit at 5, especially after the trade, I don't think they're going to move anymore. I think they're going to sit, and hopefully they get I think Ivy or Murray are probably the most realistic choices that the Pistons can get. I know there's other mock drafts that say they might take Benedict Mathurin from Arizona, shooting guard. There's another one that says Jaden Ivey. Mathurin, he 6'6", 205, he's listed as. Averaged 17.7 points a game, 45% from the field, 5.6 rebounds a game. So, if they want, a little bit more of a smaller kind of guy, I guess there's your guy. But I mean, I think Keegan Murray could be the choice here. 23.5 points, can go up and down the floor. I mean, this is a guy I think that the Pistons can need, and I'm I think this is it. Murray or Ivy. Two guys from Big Ten schools, Big Ten ball. We'll see how well they can adjust to the NBA, but they need someone that can complement Cade Cunningham. I really think they need a good number 2 here. And if they're able to get him in this draft, it'd be A+. And hopefully the Pistons can contend for a spot in the playoffs actually, but we'll see. But Troy Weaver doing a good job there, getting rid of Jerami Grant. Happy about that. He's off the books. Gives the team more capital and gives more the team more cap space, I should say. And they'll go from there. So really excited to see what happens. I will not be watching the draft. I will admit that, but I'll be following along a little bit just to see who the Pistons take at number 5. That is for sure. All right, just before we close out, I want to get to Tigers with Riley Greene. He's finally back. He took a foul ball to the foot in spring training. That's why he was able to. That's why he had to miss basically 2 months of action because of that. But he's up. He's in the big leagues now, and he got his first hit in his first game. But that's about it right now. To start the season, 6 of 16. 5 walks. That's not bad in 16 at bats. Only 3 strikeouts. Hitting 375. 899 OPS. So in his first 5 games, as of recording right now, not too shabby. Will it be enough to spark this Tigers offense? I don't look. I think it's going to help a little bit. I don't think it's going to hurt. He's playing better right now in 5 games than Torkelson's played all season. I think Riley Greene has more potential than Torkelson does. I do. I think, Riley Greene right out of high school, I just think there was a lot of hype around Torkelson just because he can mash home runs. But I think Riley Greene's a little bit more of a complete player. They want him to play more center field. It seems like he's getting better as a fielder. Can hit with power, can hit the singles. He can kind of, I don't want to call him a 5-tool player, but I think he's definitely closer to that than Torkelson is. But, just getting him more experience, I think it'll help spark a little bit, but this season's over. I mean, I don't want to do a whole deep dive into this, but, we'll do our little standings update like we do every week. Tigers 26-43, 12.5 games out of first place. Cleveland 36-28. How about that? Minus 100 run differential. They've only scored 198 runs. They are the only team in baseball to not have over 200 runs yet. It's terrible. Terrible. And they're 8-21 on the road. My gosh. And they got a road trip coming up. Well, they were in Boston. They got a road trip coming up in Arizona. Oh gosh, 8-21. That is terrible. That's the worst in the majors on the road. Have no juice on the road. I told you guys a couple weeks ago when I saw them play in Cleveland, it seems like they had no juice whatsoever. Yikes. I talked about it at the beginning of the show. Wanted to talk a little bit about AJ Hinch. I don't know if this guy's coming back. I don't. Joe Madden was fired from the Angels this year. The Angels' job is very, very cushy. It is. I think by the end of this season, AJ Hinch is saying, I'm done. He has an opt-out clause in his contract. He's done. I think he's going to be the Angels coach next season. He will take, if he takes that Angels job, he will take them to a World Series. And they will win. With Ohtani, give it one last ride for Mike Trout. These guys they're going to win a World Series with AJ Hinch. He is that good of a manager. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad fit in Detroit. I think AJ Hinch was duped, just like all of us. Remember last week how I kept saying how the Tigers were they duped all of us. They duped me as a fan. They duped everyone else. I think Al Avila sold the Tigers. Oh, we're so close. We just need a great manager. Gardenhire wasn't the answer. He was just the guy in between Ausmus and whoever we were going to hire next. Look at this. And then, oh my gosh, we win 78 games. We're just a manager. We're just a couple hitters away. We're going to get the young guys up. Torkelson's going to mash home runs. Riley Greene, he's going to play so well. we're going to win 80 or more games. And I thought that. We all did. But we were duped. And so was AJ Hinch, I think. He's like, I'm out of here. Al promised me these guys, and I trusted player development, and these guys were on there. You know, we got all these guys ready to go. There's nothing. Last year was a fluke. I think he's out. I don't know if that means Chris Fetter and all those other guys, his assistants, leave, but he's done. 2 seasons as manager. He's opting out. I think he wants to go for that Angels job. It'll be curious to see. Maybe we'll have Jake Biding on another time. Remember Jake Biding? We first had him on when the Tigers hired AJ back in late 2020. Be interesting to get his take on this situation here, because that Angels job is cushy with those star players. Maybe just a couple pieces away from really contending, because the Angels have not had much luck, in the postseason. So, just something to keep your eye out on, especially if, since this season's basically a wash at 26-43. 37.7% winning percentage. Yikes. Meanwhile, the Yankees, 51-18. Best record in the AL. Wow. 51-18. Jeez. 29-7 at home. Basically the complete opposite of what the Tigers are doing on the road. Make sure to check out all the other great content on the podcast network. The Fan Report Michigan podcast. Fan Report doing a lot of coverage with the Pistons, of course. The wrestling podcast, Doc and Jack, always the classic. And John Macron for his wonderful coverage with Sports Illustrated. Check out all of his content as we near 100. This is episode number 96, I believe. And this is we're gonna keep this thing rolling. We're gonna celebrate 100 episodes pretty soon. And really excited that this is 97, excuse me. But really, really excited that I'm still with the network, and as we near 100. 100's a big milestone, especially in podcasting. I don't think not too many guys last, really, really long like this. So, I'm really thankful and blessed to be able to be part of this network with John and company, and still editing the podcasts, for the Fan Reporter, Michigan podcast, Doc and Jack, all those. So it's been really good to be a part of this family. And really looking forward to continuing it as well, and really hoping to get more guests on. I know it's tough when I'm busy, especially with the Hall of Fame and all that, but I will try my best to get more guests on, because those are always fun. I think the best podcasts are when people have guests, and definitely is. I would say that for Open Mic Night as well. Thanks again, folks, for tuning in, and make sure to tune in next week only on Open Mic Night.